Good morning, kiddos. This is Mr. B. And today is the 13th week of trimester 3, which is effectively completed in terms of graded work. But today, what I have for you is some additional work, again, non-graded, but the expectation is you'll be completing this work either in your class here at school or in your classroom at home. Again, depending on whether you are in person or you are a distance learning student. This is the project that we are ultimately making today, and the expectation is that you are making this today while you are watching Mathmagic Land from Disney. So a craft project around some of the mathiness of what we've learned this year in music fundamentals, a tool to help sort of encapsulate all of that theory together into one place. I call it paper plate music, and then listening to at the same time in the background the Disney animation that connects math and music together, going all the way back to Pythagoras and his exploration of such things. So how this works ultimately is that we have our 12 tones on the outside, and we additionally have our interval series on a wheel on the second plane. And then the third plane represents the primary two structures. We looked at a lot of structures, but the heptatonic, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, for both the major, in this case, and minor, if we were to start on the major sixth. If we start here, we have the minor mode. So if we were to bring this to our tonic, this would be minor, and minor would then be whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step. Back to us looking at this from just a major perspective. Well, these are also the white keys that are here in this white sort of shape. You should notice that. What you should notice behind it are the black keys that are evident. And what this also begins to illustrate to us is why D in the Dorian mode sounded the way that it did. Why it sounded so good is because it is symmetrical. And you see that symmetry, the whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step. That symmetry is there. And then again, if you were to look at this from this perspective of this position here, these 5 positions of the black keys are the pentatonic pattern. So we can use that as well. Again, any position can be used as the one, right, from a modal perspective. So that's what this is. This is a calculator that allows you to pick any note of the 12 tones as, say, your tonic, as your root tone, and then using a heptatonic mode from the major or the minor, or if you want to go ahead and work in the Dorian mode, go ahead, work in the Dorian mode, right? All 7 modes are available. In fact, there are 12 modes available if you really think about it, because you can also then work in the pentatonics from any root position. So that's the purpose of the tool. The instructions for you are as follows. You will need let's talk about supplies first. So here we go. So paper plate music by me, right? And then the supplies that you will need. So the supplies that you will need, let me zoom in a little bit here. So supplies, you are going to need 3 paper plates. You're going to need a pair of scissors, a pencil. If you make mistakes like I do, you'll need a pencil, a pen, push pin, and an eraser. Now, color is optional. You can do that at the end if you'd like. Also, color makes paper soggy, so be careful on that as you do head in that direction. So again, the supplies: 3 paper plates, 1 pair of scissors, a pencil, pen, push pins, and an eraser. I got all of my materials at Dollar Tree. I will also have paper plates, push pins, and erasers in the office here at school at the front desk in case you are not able to find paper plates, an eraser, and a push pin at home. If you are not able to get them from Dollar Tree yourself, they will be here at school for you as well. So supplies are available if you need them. Instructions. What you're going to do is you're going to section a paper plate ultimately into quarters first. Now, you're going to ultimately do that to 3 paper plates. So you're doing it 3 times. You are going to go ahead and section that paper plate initially into, let me show you here, quarters. So here's our top. Let me back down a little bit on our zoom so we can see better. So here is our quarters. And then each quarter is getting divided further into thirds. Now, the way that I did that is I went ahead and took the piece of paper plate and I counted all the segments that were there. And there were 72. A really important thing from a mathy perspective, when you are going to label something like this, you start with labeling a 0, because you really don't know how many there are going to be until you've done the work. Then going around, you discover how many there are when the last one becomes the 0, and then you know how many there are. But a little bit of reference there to understanding what a 0 point really means. If this was to continue up spiraling, it is not a 0, it's a 72, and 1 becomes a 73, if you think about it. So anyway, you need to make 3 of those. You make 3 of those total, one of which you want to initially use your pen and an eraser to prepare the material. So let me get that real quick here. Demonstrate that. You want to make sure that you have an eraser and your pen. And what you're doing with this first plate is once you get that center point marked, you want to make sure you get a hole that's nice through it. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to stack all of your other plates on top of it. And then you're going to push that pin through your guide hole and make sure that you then created a central hole for all of them. And that way everything's lined up for later. Later you're going to attach everything with an eraser, but we're not there yet. So once you have sectioned, let's zoom in again. Once you have sectioned each of the plates into 4s, then each of those quarters are into thirds. And then you're going to label a full plate with the 12 tones. So your first of those 3 plates ends up looking like this. And I'm going to now again zoom downward, put us back so we can see it. So here is our quarter sections. Here's the third of each one, right? And so what we're going to do then is just simply kind of reorient things so we now see where our 12 tones are going to be in terms of their central nature. So this plate doesn't get trimmed at all, and we're labeling the 12 tones around. And labeling such that as you rotate them, you can see them, okay? So there's that first one. Then the next plate, we're starting, and you're going to trim back all the way to the edge of the plate, all the way down to just the inside edge of the plate. Not quite to the middle, but just to the outer edge. Not to the middle, but to the outer edge. And that one, again, you've got the lines that are transferred there from your prior work. So those have already been prepared for you, but you're going to label them as the tonic, which is our root, minor second, minor third, major third, perfect fourth, tritone, perfect fifth, minor sixth, major seventh, major seventh. And that gives us our middle wheel, and that will eventually go on here like that. Okay? Our next of the 3 plates that gets reduced and cut all the way to the inside circle. Now, I draw my shapes before I make my cuts. That's an important thing to consider. The first one that you're going to draw, obviously, is your heptatonic. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 steps. That is our traditional major pattern. Minor being from this position. And then behind it, we have our pentatonics that are available. And again, nothing here has been colored in yet, but the pentatonic shape from the background would be black. The heptatonic shape from the front would remain white. And again, here you see the symmetry from the Dorian mode, and again, the pentatonic being sort of its inverse of it in relationship. And the way this all goes together then is we take our top plate and we use whatever push pin we're choosing to use. We take our third plate. Again, we punched these previously at the very beginning when the plates were all together. And then that goes onto this like so. Being careful not to pinch your finger. And now you have a working tool that, again, allows you to say, okay, if I'm going to play in the key of C, and I'm going to play a major scale. Here's my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those are the 7 notes I would play for that scale. If I want to play that same scale in the key of D, there is my pattern. Let's say I want to play in D minor. Well, I know that my major 6 is where I start my D minor. Now my pattern for D minor would be here. Whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, half step, whole step, and then back to our tonic again. And so that's what this is a cipher, a tool to allow you to decipher the underlying theory related to the 12 tones. So the expectation is you are working on this in class, either at home or away, while you are listening to Mathmagic Land from Disney, and that link is provided. Thank you.